Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier. What's the best business advice you've ever received? Some top local leaders share their words of wisdom. Phillips Edison begins to make its mark on the Kenwood collection site. And a couple of Cincinnati companies are making a difference on the sledding slopes in Sochi. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rasconi in for Brian Patrick. Well, no successful person has created his or her entire script from scratch. Whether you stand on the shoulders of giants, your mom, or the guy next door, good advice can be worth its weight in gold. Well, on the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, the best advice I've ever received. Some of Cincinnati's top executives weighed in on which piece of advice meant the most to them. Responses ranged from the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, or some version of it, quotes from Rudyard Kipling, and words of wisdom from Mom. In fact, acting Cincinnati City Manager Scott Stiles said, "My mother told me that God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth so that I would listen as much as I talk, and that served me well." Well, there's a wide variety of quotes from a wide variety of local leaders. It's a fun read, so be sure to check out all the words of wisdom in the print edition. Well, the co-founder of Phillips Edison and Company says the best advice he's ever received is if you pursue a career doing something you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Jeff Edison founded Phillips Edison with Michael Phillips more than 20 years ago. Phillips Edison specializes in the acquisition, leasing, and operation of grocery-anchored neighborhood and community shopping centers. The company is now developing Kenwood Town Place, which is now known as Kenwood Collection. Edison says the site was in a high level of distress and provides his company an opportunity to bring value to the project.
When we buy a center and we redo it, we try and bring basically more community to our community centers. We try and bring more people into those centers, make them a better part of the community that they're in.
The company's portfolio has grown to include nearly 300 properties, totaling more than 30 million square feet in 37 states. Well, a new parking plan seems to be in place for the city of Cincinnati, and the goal is largely the same as the one that was scrapped when Mayor John Cranley took office. The main difference between the two plans is that the city will not receive an $85 million upfront payment under Cranley's plan and will instead receive increased annual revenue from the parking system. But many details of Cranley's proposal echo the lease plan proposed by former city manager Milton Dohoney and the Port of Greater Cincinnati Development Authority. Those details include increased neighborhood rates, extending some meter hours until 9 p.m., and increasing enforcement.
The concept of keeping control of rates and hours, the concept of not privatizing this with Xerox, the concept of keeping the meter money and the ticket money in the city's hands for general fund purposes, the concept of not monetizing the asset, we have a clear majority.
Key details, particularly what the enforcement hours will be, remain to be decided by council. Cincinnati holding company CM Paula has purchased Westchester-based Remtech Automation. The deal makes a big company even bigger. This is Mason-based CM Paula's 7th acquisition since 2005, the year it shifted to operating as a private equity firm.
It came with the management team in place, with a little strategy work and a little investment from CM Paula. We hope that it will grow. Remtech's got a great position in the marketplace.
Remtech makes robotic material handling system. CM Paula buys companies that are typically under $10 million in annual revenue, have the opportunity to grow, and a strong management team. The company makes money from the profits of its operating companies rather from increasing their value and selling them, as most private equity firms do. Well, speaking of mergers, two of Cincinnati's fastest growing companies are pairing up for a partnership they hope will help each other grow even more. Payment processing firm Infintech joined forces with business financing provider The Business Backer to offer each other services to their client base. The two firms will share revenue in the deal, but companies say the real winners are the clients. Business Backer Chief Growth Officer Justin Zawali joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio with more on the partnership.
Thanks, Peg. Justin, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
How does this partnership work?
Well, you know, both companies, both the Business Backer and Infintech, serve a similar customer. We serve small businesses or medium-sized businesses, and Infintech obviously offering credit card processing, the Business Backer offering alternative financing for those small businesses. And you know, what we realize is that both organizations really have a unique value proposition. It's built on transparency, it's built on ethics, it's built on trying to find ways to save customers money as opposed to adding to their cost structure. And when we finally met up at the Better Business Bureau's Torch Awards, after kind of talking about this partnership, we realized that it just made too much sense for us not to do business together. And so both organizations have dedicated resources specifically for this partnership. At the Business Backer, every day we're talking to small business owners that have credit card processing but are maybe interested in trying to find a way to save some money on that piece. So in those instances, we then pitch those opportunities over to Infintech, and vice versa. When they're out talking to their existing customer base or prospects, the question of capital comes up often, and now they have a place to to provide a valued resource, a valued suggestion to their customer base.
So it sounds like saving money is the big advantage to both the customers and the businesses. What other advantages does this partnership bring?
Absolutely. Well, I think it goes back to that whole idea of really having that ethical and transparent approach. I mean, both organizations believe in championing small businesses. Small business owners are our American heroes, we like to say. And so, of course, we want to make sure that there's value to the bottom line. But just as importantly, it's that, business owners only hold just a handful of people that they view as trusted advisors and people that they can trust. When they've done business with the Business Backer or they've done business with Infintech, they've made a decision that they trust those organizations. And we feel an obligation that when they've made a decision to trust us, that it's also our job to go find other opportunities, other potential partners that really hold the same ideals that we do. And again, that's what really brought this partnership together.
All right, well, we're glad that you and Ryan are both here in town, and we wish you the best of luck. Peg, back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Kelly and Justin, thanks. Team USA's skeleton sledders took to the slopes in Sochi, Russia, careening down ice tracks while clutching to a little piece of Cincinnati. Their sleds were designed by a University of Cincinnati professor and his startup, ProStar. They're also manufactured right here in Cincinnati by Machine Tech in Fairfield. The president of Machine Tech was approached by ProStar in 2008 to make the skeleton sled he had designed.
The exciting thing is to actually see the athletes go down the hill and what they can do to make these things go fast, and really the effort it takes to ride one of these. They actually go down the hill at about 80 miles an hour, and in the corners they withstand up to 5 Gs of force. It's incredible.
Yeah, I'll say. There are more than 100 different special manufactured components that go into each sled, and the saddle is custom fitted to each individual athlete. Well, it's Valentine's weekend, and a lot of people are looking for love online. And dating online can be full of challenges, especially when the person you meet in real life doesn't quite live up to their internet profile. Local 12's Tiffany Wilson introduces us to a homegrown startup that aims to eliminate the mystery from the mystery dating experience.
We met speed dating, and before she would go out with me, she ran a background check on me. So she told me this about after 6 months of dating, and I was like,
"Oh, by the way, honey.
By the way, I ran a background check on you." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." She said the problem was there's a lot of Michael Bergmans out there.
It was a eureka moment. Michael and Bree realized they were meant for each other, and the Bergmans hit on a great business idea: verifying your identity online.
And that was pretty much the idea of Rep, that gives anybody the power to control their information and share it with whomever they want.
Rep graduated from the 2012 class of local startup accelerator, The Brandery. A Cincy Tech investment helped Michael hire developers who've built a streamlined site. Just enter your name and date of birth. Then Rep scans public records to generate a quiz, unique to you. After answering 4 questions, your profile is created.
And we actually can pull in your middle name. I didn't enter that, so we know we've got the right person.
You can link your social media profiles and run a criminal and sexual offender check on yourself.
This is a good way to know what's out there about you.
Then, when you communicate with someone online, you can send them your Rep profile. Because it's authenticated, they know the picture and information is accurate. The tech community believes Rep is onto something. CNBC named it one of the most promising new companies, and Rep was a finalist in a national startup competition.
Well, Bergman also sees Rep as a great way to get background information on potential e-commerce buyers. For now, the service is free. You can sign up at MyRep, that's rep with 2 Ps.com. Well, up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, Kroger is facing a lawsuit over a product many of us buy. And what impact will tolls have on your decision to drive the Brent Spence Bridge? Some news you may have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day or following on Twitter and Facebook. A lawsuit claims Kroger is deceiving customers with the labeling on some of its chicken products. Reuters reports a complaint filed last week in California says Kroger is misleading consumers about its Simple Truth chicken. The lawsuit claims the brand was marketed as humanely raised, but the animals were raised in standard commercial farming. A Kroger spokesman says the company hasn't reviewed the lawsuit, but the labels are believed to be accurate and will be defended. 3 new flights launched this week from Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky International Airport, part of the continued expansion of low-cost carriers at CVG. Allegiant Travel Company began a twice-a-week service to the Orlando, Florida area and a twice-a-week service to Punta Gorda, Fort Myers. Frontier also launched 3-days-a-week service to Trenton Mercer Airport in central New Jersey, which is an access point for Philadelphia. Well, a new study by the University of Kentucky minimizes the effect tolls would have on a new Brent Spence bridge. In a worst-case scenario, tolls will reduce traffic on the bridge by 2%, according to the study, which was commissioned by the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. Traffic could still increase as much as 1%, the study said. The university's Center for Economic Business Research also said that while tolls on the bridge may reduce shopping trips across the river, it is unlikely to have an impact on retail or accommodation and food service in the region. Well, look for some changes coming to Great American Ballpark this season. A new craft beer stand and a social media center. Neither are official, but the Business Courier has learned the craft beer stand could bring 30 taps to the park. Plans at this point call for the stand to serve only draft beer and to be on the main concourse on the third base side of the ballpark. That's according to brewprof.com. Information about the social media center is a little bit more vague, but the center could be similar to a concept the Cleveland Indians use in their social suite at Progressive Field. Well, in this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360, a look at what's happening in our own backyard. What are the economic trends and forecasts awaiting us? Our very own Jim Russell, U.S. Bank Senior Equity Strategist, joins Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio with a look at the major trends in Ohio and what they mean to us.
Thanks, Peg. This is a first for me, getting to interview Jim Russell.
Kelly, good morning.
It's so good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you.
So how is Ohio doing compared to other states?
You know, I would characterize it with maybe a gentleman's bee. There are several things that are going right in the state of Ohio. Housing prices are on their way a little bit higher compared to national averages, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. That's always a positive. Secondly, manufacturing, as reviewed in last week's Economic 360, is really one of the important things that's going right in Ohio, and that also is important. We'll take a look at that in a second as well. And frankly, the fracking and shale gas work that's being done in eastern Ohio Jobs have increased 30% since 2011. We think that is something that, frankly, many states really cannot say. Now, there is a couple of things that perhaps do warrant our attention in terms of maybe some concerns of some negatives. The unemployment rate, unfortunately, is above national averages. What this graph indicates is the unemployment rate in Ohio is 7.4%. Preliminary data for December would indicate that the Ohio unemployment rate is 7.2. So I think that data is yet to come out, and that's a little bit above where we want to see Ohio's unemployment rate, but we do think it's headed in the right direction.
And what other advantages does Ohio have that maybe other states don't?
A couple of things were mentioned just a minute ago. Shale gas is something that only a handful of states really have. Ohio, Pennsylvania, sections of West Virginia, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas, and maybe the Dakotas. So Ohio's in really a select group, and we think that is going to be a positive for, frankly, years and perhaps even decades to come. Manufacturing was also mentioned. Manufacturing is central to Ohio's well-being. And you can see actually the geographical location of Ohio is very important. Ohio's location exposes 60% of the U.S. and Canadian population to a 600-mile radius to Ohio. So we think that's very important. Call that a healthy day's drive. Very important for the manufacturing complex as well.
And you said housing was a factor.
It is.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. How are we doing here in terms of housing?
Housing is really key because firm housing prices really help a couple of different important constituencies. Number one, it's a clear positive for the consumer in that 60% of America's households, their house is their largest financial asset, and that's no longer going down. You can see the graph here where Ohio's housing markets have actually outperformed quite handily the national housing markets over a prolonged period of time, and that continues to be the case. It also, of course, helps in the construction industry, is that for every manufacturing job or construction job that's formed, approximately 2 to 3 service sector jobs form around it. So we want a healthy housing market, and that, of course, comes through firm housing prices. So housing is key for us here in the state of Ohio. So probably 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and I think we're working on that 1 step back issue.
Jim, we're so glad you're watching these issues for us. And as Brian likes to say, we appreciate you and U.S. Bank.
Thank you,
so
Kelly.
much. Back to you, Peg.
Thanks, Kelly and Jim. Great stuff. Well, still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, do you know an extraordinary local volunteer? We'll tell you how to help them get the recognition they deserve. And congratulations to Tori Ames, Community Engagement Manager at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center, another of our 40 under 40 honorees. Morning's Business Insight. Do you know an amazing volunteer? The Jefferson Awards are presented to volunteers who've performed outstanding service in their communities. The Rotary Club of Cincinnati is seeking nominations due by this coming Friday, February 21st. A panel will select 1 winner and 3 finalists. The local winner will also represent our community at the Jefferson Award National Ceremony in Washington, D.C. in June. To talk more about the awards and their significance, Doug Adams, Senior Vice President and Team Leader at PNC and an active member of Rotary, joins Jamie Smith in the studio. Doug and Jamie.
Thanks, Peg. Doug, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, talk a little bit more. I know that she said for volunteerism. Talk a little bit more about the Jefferson Awards and what they actually are.
Thank you. The Jefferson Award was started in 1972 by Sam Beard, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and Senator Robert Taft from Cincinnati, Ohio. And they wanted to promote volunteerism and recognize those people who are doing extraordinary things in their community without the expectation of recognition or reward. So they came out with this thing called the Jefferson Award. And since 1972, it is now awarded in 90 different communities across the country. And Cincinnati is one of those communities to have that award. The Rotary Club became involved with it in 2006 and started promoting it, so this will be our 9th year doing it. And it's just been a great ride. It's really recognized as the Nobel Prize of volunteer and community service in the United States.
That's great. And the local winner goes on and represents Cincinnati at the national level, is that right?
That's correct. You'll have all the local unsung heroes is what we call them. They'll be in Washington, D.C. this coming summer, and they all get to tell their story, and it's a really humbling experience to hear all the good things that are happening throughout the country by by very grassroots people that just had a passion for something.
Yeah, what is, we hear all the time from the United Way, the Arts Wave, you hear about how great Cincinnati is for volunteerism. Not only giving money, but giving their time. So it's great to see, people like yourself, I understand, is a past winner?
That's correct. I won in 2005, and it was... we had something we called the Campaign for Sight in the Dark, where we went out and raised $276,000 for thermal imaging cameras for the fire department, so that each fire truck in the Cincinnati Fire Department would have one of these life-saving units.
And I think last year's winner was more of a group, is that right? The Rusty Ball?
It was the Rusty Ball folks, and for all the good things they've done. We've had very solid, 8 solid winners over the last 8 years, and 2 of those winners have actually gone on and been recognized with the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Award, which is only 5 of the people get selected to do that. So it's a very prestigious honor.
That's incredible. So we're going to have on the full screen there the information. The deadline, as she said, is next Friday. The Rotary website's going to be on there. Tell me a little bit more. I know the Rotary sponsors it. Who else works with you guys to make this possible?
We have 3 different sponsors. The Rotary Club, of course, of Cincinnati, which has been around since 1910, and it's one of our passions to help the community and spur volunteerism. Local 12, of course, is one of our sponsors, and the Enquirer is the other sponsor.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it does make perfect sense. I mean, I'm a member of the Cincinnati Rotary, and we're all about service.
Yes.
That's what we talk about. That's what we talk about as soon as we start the meeting. So it makes so much sense for us to do this. So I'm glad to see that we're recognizing these great individuals. I think Mike Morawski, another friend of mine, was a winner 2 or 3 years ago.
We've honored a lot of great people around Cincinnati, and as you said, the Rotary Club is service above self, and you match that with the volunteerism and looking for unsung heroes with the Jefferson Awards motto, so they fit perfectly together. We've done anywhere from Bob Edwards with the Rubber Duck Regatta at the Free Store. We had Dick Bear from Crayons to Computer, and our first winner that Rotary Club recognized was a lady by the name of Gail Connor. Gail, out of her own volition, gets Christmas presents together and takes a truck full of Christmas presents down to over the Rhine to deliver for people that don't have Christmas for them.
That's incredible.
And she was one of the people who went on and won the national award for her volunteers.
Well, that's great. Well, as I said, we've got the information on the screen. Thanks for being here today, and I look forward to seeing who this year's winner is.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Peg, back to you.
Oh, thanks, gentlemen. So nice to recognize good work. Well, last week we introduced you to Todd Sebastian from Link Training and Consulting. His organization is soliciting a nonprofit for a free branding makeover. Now, if you're interested, contact Todd Sebastian at todd@linktrainingandconsulting.com by this Friday, February 21st. Well, thanks for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning at 6:30 here on Local 12 and 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, visit the Business Courier online, sign up for daily emails, and follow on Twitter and Facebook. The address is cincinnatibusinesscourier.com. I'm Peg Rasconi. Thanks for watching and have a great Sunday.